Alright, y'all, we back. Welcome back to the Talk Tech with 50 channel. I am 50 or Randall, however you may know me. Welcome back to the channel if you've already subscribed, and if you're a newbie, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Got a lot more content coming for you in regards to all this IT stuff, getting in and answering any questions that y'all may have. So, without further ado, today I'm going to be talking about the truth about the Cissp. And we're going to start this with a little story. And so I say back yesterday, one of my partners from Atlanta, they hit me up. They asked me what certification they told that not asked. They told me what certifications they was about to go for. And in this list of certifications was the Security Plus, and they had been in the field for 8 years. That is a big no-no. And I'm going to get to why in a second. I stopped my car in traffic in my neighborhood at the risk of getting shot to tell this man that you need to go and get your Cissp immediately. Let go of the Security Plus. You're past that. Nah, but I feel like the Cissp is a big dog certification. Is it though? Is it really? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. And this is coming from somebody who has one. So I know. And I've worked around plenty. So I'm not making this stuff up. So for anybody who's new, a Cissp is a Certified Information System Security Professional. It is a designation handed out by ISC Squared. In order to qualify for this Cissp designation, you need to have 5 years of experience in 2 of the 8 current domains, or 4 years of experience in 2 of the 8 domains, or a bachelor's degree, master's degree in a related field, or certification. There's like a list of like 30 or 50 certifications that, compensate for 1 year. They did change it though, because when I got my Cissp, I only needed 3 years of experience, because I had my CCNP. No, the degree was different and the certification was different. So the degree, it counted for 1 year. Then I had my CCNP that counted for 2 years, for another year, I think. So I really only needed 3 years. But yeah, so you roughly need about 4 or 5 years of experience in 2 of the 8 domains. Those domains are broad. I'm pretty sure, like, even if you're help desk, you meet the requirements. And I'll get into that later too. So that's what the Cissp is. It is a very highly regarded and highly respected certification in the information security, cybersecurity, security in general space. All right. And in IT in general. So yeah, there's that. So I told him, I said, dude, go ahead and get your Cissp. It's not a big dog certification like you think. So you're technical. You've configured ASAs. You've configured, various things. You've configured servers. You've done with Office 365. You've done with Azure. You've come from a technical background. The Cissp is not a technical exam. I'm going to say this again. The Cissp is not a technical exam. You don't have to configure anything in this exam. You don't have to know how to configure something for this exam. You really don't. It's pretty much just like a Security Plus, but there's a very distinct difference, and I'll get into that, as I go on. But the Cissp is not a technical certification. Actually, you'll find out as you spend more time in the field, most of the people that do have the Cissp, they're not really technical. Or they're not technical. They're auditors. They do risk assessment. They do something in GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. They may do security awareness. They may do like a wide assortment of different things within the cybersecurity realm, because it's so doggone broad, but they could be doing anything. And a lot of the Cissps that I met really aren't technical like that. you know, or their managers, their C-level execs, their directors, you know, either they're technical or they once were technical and that kind of stuff is removed. But you still do have some technical people like myself that do have a CSSP. But I don't want people to think that they don't qualify for the CSSP when actually, in fact, they do. And I told my boy, you very well qualify for this. Forget your Security Plus, go take the CSSP. It looks better, just to be honest. A CSSP looks better than your Security Plus, especially at this stage in your career. You're 5 to 10 years in, a Security Plus? Nah. Anybody who doesn't have any IT experience can get a Security Plus. You need something that says, I've actually got experience in this field. And that's what a CSSP can do for you. So go ahead and get that certification. Spend that $700 and go ahead and get it. And so oftentimes I see, especially in this, I forgot where I saw it. I think it was either like LinkedIn or Facebook. But I often tell people that have been like either in the SOC or help desk or desktop, they've been in for a couple years, to go ahead and get their CISSP as soon as they're eligible to get it. And somebody told me, well, that's more of a senior level cert. And I would say to that, yeah and no. Because the requirements to get a CISSP, you have to have some level of experience to get it. Now, it just so happens that a lot of people who do have their CISSP, they do have pretty high up positions, which is why I actually urge people to go ahead and get your CISSP. You know, enhance your career, enhance your life, enhance your future. You know, once you get it, you got it. Well, you still got to do your 40 CPEs every year. Don't be like me and then procrastinate till like the last year. Then you're trying to do like 90 CPE hours in like a week. Yeah, that was brutal. But yeah, that's one of the things about the CISSP. That's one of the common misconceptions about the CISSP, is that it's some super duper CCIE level you need to be right here before you can take it, you know, kind of certification. It's not that. It's really not that. Somebody at their help desk, they've been in 4 or 5 years, they can get a CISSP, no problem. You know, they'll have to look up what some of the terms mean, just like the non-technical people. You know? In fact, a non-technical person is somebody and somebody in the help desk getting the CISSP is pretty much the same thing. You know? If we're talking about non-technical or technical, and I'm not saying that the help desk people aren't technical, but what I am saying is if half of security is non-technical, why would somebody say that somebody who at least has some technical skills and abilities, why would they say that they don't qualify? I'm here to tell you that they do. If you've been doing IT, like I really don't care what you've been doing. If you've been doing IT for 4 or 5 years, like if you've done something as small as stuff in ADUC or AD, Active Directory uses computers. If you've done something as small as change passwords, you know, there's a domain for that. Identity access management, there's a domain for that. You know, there's pretty much a domain for almost everything that you've done, or something that you've done fits in one of those 8 domains. You qualify. So go ahead and take it. Yeah, I know it's $700. I know it's 6 hours, 250 questions. I can actually share a couple tips, not on the test, but the mindset that I use in order to get through that test as quickly as possible. Because if you spend, you know, 5 minutes on a question and you have 250 questions, and let's say you take like 1 minute per, let's say you take like a minute per question, you know, that's 240 minutes and you have 250 questions. So I'm going to share, you know, I'm going to share my strategy for getting through that. And it'll also help for like other tests, you know, as well, especially the non-managerial ones, right? All right, so boom. Where am I? CISSP. Go get it. No matter what level you're at, if you have the years, necessary to be designated CISSP, go test for it. You know, when I worked at a, you know, when I was at McKesson, that's really where I actually first saw the CISSP like that. And so, what was the name of the bigger team? So I was a part of the CSRT team that was like a part of a larger team. I think it was like ISRM or something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, and so like pretty much everybody who wasn't in the SOC, you know, 90 to 95% of those people, they had a CISSP. You know, security engineers, security awareness people, risk assessment people, vulnerability management people, you know, architects, directors, everybody had their CISSP. And, you know, when I was there, that's when I got mine. And one thing that I found is that I saw another certification, getting a bit off track, but I'm gonna come back full circle. And I saw another certification called CISM. And there was, I think, one director there that had it and one of the senior engineers there that had it. And that senior engineer, he left to take, I think, like a C-level position. And his package and his offering was, it was ridiculous. It was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen something like that before that. Like, wasn't in a movie. You know, it was crazy. And so I figured to myself, a CISSP and a CISM, that is the recipe for success. Let's fast forward a couple of years. So I get to the current job I'm at now, and my boss says, hey, do you want some training? Oh, absolutely. CISM. He said, you don't want no other CISM. I don't need training on another firewall. My 2 CCNPs were still active at that time. I had my PC and SC. I don't CISM. Please and thank you. You know, he put it in. I went and go take the training. And so the training was about 3 days. 90 people. I was the youngest out of all of them. And in this CISM training, I was as technical as I was the lowest person on the totem pole in there. It was nothing but VPs, execs, C-level, C-suite executive people, directors, presidents, vice presidents. I mean, I was a peon. You know, this is one of the first times where I was in a room, and as technical as I am, quote unquote, I was a peon. I was a peasant, you know, but I was also the only one in there with my CISSP. And all these people in there, they were asking me about the difference between like the CISSP, because I already took it, and what we were studying for in the CISM. And I explained to them, I said, you know, the CISSP is more technical than this. The CISSP and CISM are both managerial certifications. And so I said, if you could pass your CISSP, you can definitely pass this, you know, because, you know, you got to know more technical stuff. With the CISM, you know, the CISM is pretty much the CISSP minus the technical stuff. Like, you don't have to, you know, you really don't have to know what, like, just throwing random stuff out there. Like, you don't have to know what, like, SAML or Federation is or something random like that. You don't have to know that stuff. All you need to know is you just need to get the point that the CISM is trying to teach you. The CISSP and the CISM, they try and drive home a point. I don't necessarily remember what the CISM was, but I will share the CISSP's point they try and drive home in a little bit. But I was the only person in that class with a CISSP, and I was the first person to take the CISM. I took it as soon as the class was over, and I passed it. And a lot of and so what we had to do was, what the instructor asked was, you know, for people when they take the test to, you know, come back and respond to the email, you know, to the rest of the class. And I responded to the email. I said, hey, everybody, I just passed the test, you know, and I actually got a couple job offers out of that thing. You know, I got a couple of, hey, are you good where you're at? Couple conversations. They didn't know me from Adam. They didn't know what I could do or couldn't do. They were willing to bring me on board. That's the power of the CISSP. The CISSP, you use it to get where you want to go. You know, it's a tool. It's a certification. You know, a lot of people, especially in these, when they're talking IT, they want to say, oh, experience outweighs certifications. And I would say experience works hand in hand with certifications. Because see, the thing is, it's like, there may be certain times where people can't see your experience. Like when people are submitting resumes to jobs. You have HR people looking at your resume, trying to match keywords that match the job description. But they don't know, but they can't look at a resume and say, oh yeah, this person can definitely do this job. None of the keywords match, but this person can do this job. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. They match keywords. Oh, this person has a CISSP and this is one of the preferred or, you know, mandatory requirements. Pass them through. They ain't even look at your experience. They don't care that you can, you know, build a firewall from out of the box. You know, they don't care that you know how to change your computer to a static IP address, console in, you know, to the default IP address, give it a proper static, you know, set the DNS so that way it can download its updates, you know, put it on the network so you can get to it, you know, and then, you know, get it licensed, you know, in the way you go. They don't know if you know how to do any of that stuff. They can't see that. All they see is, oh yeah, this person has a CISSP, this person has Security Plus, this person has a CISM. And if there are two people, one has their Security Plus and one has their CISSP, and you're going for the same position, guess what? The CISSP is going to win every single time. I tell people the Security Plus is what I consider an entry-level certification. You know, that's like 0 to 2 years experience. That's your very entry-level certification. If you've got 4+ years of experience in IT, you were past the Security Plus. Believe me. Go for your CISSP. you definitely want to go for your CISSP. Because see, here's the thing. Remember, it's a managerial certification, which means it's not so technical. The point that the CISSP wants to try and drive home is that you always want to perform a risk assessment. You know, you always want to assess the risk of anything that you have going on. And this will help managers, you know, make their decisions. And then they can either decide to mitigate the risk, accept the risk, transfer the risk. You know, they can decide. I'll give you a perfect example. So let's say there's a company that have a business critical application. This business critical application hasn't been sold in 10 years, which means it's out of date. It hasn't been sold in 10 years. It's out of date. It's on a computer that has an operating system that's also out of date. It's end of support, end of life. You can't even, you can't do updates to it anymore. Right? There legit is no support for this, but it's a business critical application. Right? Business critical application. So what's the problem? It's internet facing. Which means that every vulnerability under the sun, it's acceptable to those vulnerabilities. And so usually what people do, like with the high up engineers or architects, usually what they do is if they see a problem, they go to management, they approach management, they say, hey, we found this problem. This is how much it would cost to mitigate this problem. And then you give it to management, and then they'll either decide to accept the risk or mitigate the risk, but either way, that's on there. And so in this particular example, management has to, weigh the business against security. The business operating versus the chance of a breach. You see, risk assessment. Assess the risk. What happens if this terminal is breached? What kind of damages are we looking at? Is the damages that we're looking at, does that cost more than it would to mitigate this risk? Then, not to mention, this is a business critical system that we no longer have support for, that, we don't even know if it can replicate this thing. So the benefits revolves around this. And usually, for those who are new to IT field, welcome, but you're about to learn a quick lesson here, and everybody who's a veteran, you already know this. But management and C-level execs, they tend to be really hard-headed, about, the business critical applications. And so with that, they're going to put the business over the security because the business has to keep going. But then, of course, that makes your job harder as a security person, because now it's like you run a vulnerability scan, and I mean, this thing's got probably more criticals than employees at the doggone place. And I'm not speaking about any place in particular, but this is something it's more common than not. If you've ever seen something in the news about, data being lost or something big happening, chances are they probably were targeted for something. But then also chances are what I just told y'all happened. Oh, well, this organization got hacked. Well, yeah, because they're still using Windows Vista or Windows XP computers. And that hasn't been supported in I don't know how long. And these things go to the internet. But it's common. It happens. Welcome to the fold. It happens. And so that's really where like assessing the risk comes in. And that's pretty much what that's pretty much what the CSP wants to, drive home. That's the message that it wants to send. It tries to tailor your thinking to thinking like a manager, so that way you can, relay to management, you can lay it all in front of them. That's pretty much what the CSP is. So does that sound really technical? No, because it's not. Go get your CSP. I got mine. You can probably see mine like, right behind my head. And I can tell you this, about everybody I ever met that has a CSP, they're winning. Winning meaning they're, either close to 100K or over it. A lot of people, they go through IT, and they go through their IT journey, and how can I put this? And again, they try and rely a little bit more on their experience, But a certification like this will get you where you want to go, and pretty quickly too. The BS offers really won't even hit your inbox like that, especially if your resume is updated. The BS offers won't hit your inbox. Every job has a pay range. Let's say, for example, you want to go for security engineer position, right? No, let's make it an incident response position, right? So let's say the range is from 65,000 to 135,000. If you have a security plus, you think that if you have a security plus and about 5 years of experience, you think somebody's going to give you 100,000? I wouldn't bet on it. Because the security plus, they look at it as an entry level cert. They look at it for what it is. If you have the CISSP and you have the experience and you have, like other heavy duty certifications to go, oh yeah, they'll give you that 135. They'll probably even bump it up a little bit. You'll probably be running the show in a year or two. That's what this certification can do for you. That's the truth. That's the truth. So I know I've been rambling for a little bit. So if anybody has any more questions in regards to the CISSP, be sure to leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for anybody who's new or anybody who's watching this video. This has been the truth about the CISSP, and appreciate you watching. I'll holler at you.